Welcome to Tech Talk with Trevor Galbraith, a video podcast that features industry leaders and experts from the electronics manufacturing community. Recorded at major events around the world and from the studios of Global SMT TV. Now here is your host, Trevor Galbraith.
Hello and welcome back. My first guest here today is Sanjay Huprikar. He's the IPC Director for Europe. Aren't you, Sanjay?
I am, thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Now, IPC is doing a huge number of things in Europe at the moment.
We are.
You're extremely active, which I'm really pleased to see.
We are too.
Because you're getting the ear of government, which is important.
Very much so.
So tell me some of the things that you've been doing on the advocacy level in Brussels and beyond.
Sure. As everyone is well aware, the EMS industry and the PCB industry doesn't really have a pan-European advocate.
Right.
So we have positioned ourselves to be that advocate.
Mm-hmm.
As everyone knows, we had some role in the CHIPS Act.
Yep.
And the reason we took that role is because we saw that as a great opportunity, not only to boost European electronics, obviously semiconductors is a big piece of it, but we saw an opportunity to communicate and convey to the government the importance of the other things that are happening in electronics beyond just semiconductors.
Right.
So PCB and EMS, materials,
Mm-hmm.
those are all very important pieces.
Yes.
Without any of those things, you can't do anything with the chips that they want to produce in Europe. And that's
Right.
the message that we've been sending the government. And they've been relying on us now more so in 2023 than any other year in the past to kind of be that voice for the electronics industry, not just the semiconductor industry,
Right.
but for the electronics
well,
industry.
as I said earlier today, I mean, it's been a learning curve for them as well.
Absolutely.
And so
it's an education for us.
Right.
It's an education for them as well.
Yes, absolutely. So that's important. But there's so many other things affecting the industry as well at the moment. You know, in Europe, there's a big push on ESG and sustainability.
Right.
We've also got the same challenges as you have in the US with some of the labor markets trying to find skilled labor.
That's right.
I know, for example, in the US that you've been doing a lot with STEM programs.
Yep.
Have you been doing anything on this side of the water with that?
Well, we're learning what is required here. I would say that 2023 has been a year from the workforce development side in Europe, where we have more feedback now as to what those needs are.
Right.
Certainly, there's still a lot of operator-centric programs that we can do. The challenge we have in Europe with operator-centric programs, though, is you have to create them in local language.
Right.
Okay? As the industry is moving east, we see more opportunities in places like Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria. Well, we normally don't translate our standards and educational tools in those languages. So this is, again, where the intersection of government helps.
Mm-hmm.
If we can find and source funding to help us translate those programs into those languages,
Right.
that opens up a bigger opportunity for the industry to have more workers engaged with IPC.
Absolutely.
On the sustainability side, which I think is something you mentioned as well. So we created a leadership council for sustainability. It's a global council,
Okay.
but it's made up of several European companies as well.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is struggling with, what do we do first in terms of sustainability for electronics?
Yeah.
You know, there's CO2 emissions. There's workforce has a component of it. There's a human rights aspect to it.
Right.
Where do we start? And I think having a leadership council kind of help us see what the priorities are, prioritize what some of the choices could be.
Yes.
And that's an area that we're focused on in 2023 and in 2024.
Yes. No, it's becoming, it's really risen up the ranks in terms of importance very quickly because, on the stock level price, a lot of companies are looking and analyzing companies' ESG and sustainability records, and when they're making their investment choices.
Right.
So it's become really, really important. Yeah. Now, I noticed that you've been involved a lot with some of the major contract manufacturers over on this side.
We have.
How have you found that? I mean, and have you found any differences between working with their counterparts in the US? I mean, what's your takeaway on that?
I'm going to throw my U.S. colleagues or my U.S. Members under the bus a little bit.
Okay.
It's been a joy working with the contract manufacturers and even the PCB fabricators here in Europe.
Right.
They're very open to having an association like ours, global in nature, but acting very specifically on local issues.
Yes.
So we've had a lot of different networking events with them. We've had get-togethers with them, talking about some of the key issues. A basic thing, and you know this, Trevor, better than anybody, is a lot of them here in Europe feel like they're disrespected because they do a lion's share of the work and they get no credit whatsoever. So anything we can do to kind of showcase the good work that they're doing for the media, for the politicians, even for the public, to show the importance of EMS, to show the importance of PCB, and how those are two important entities that matter for electronics, is a service that we're doing on behalf of our membership. And I think that's what's opened them up a little bit to us, is we're really trying to do something for them.
Yeah, I think one of the big changes I see, differences, should I say, between the contract manufacturers here and in the States is that they seem to be more open here to bringing in new technologies and being more open to different types of engineering.
Absolutely.
Maybe because they come from a more engineering kind of background here. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But in the US, I find that they're quite resistant to change, and they wait for their OEMs to tell them they have to change.
Yeah. And I think you hit on it well. I think the Europeans come very much from an engineering background. They like to view things from a scientific point of view. They're very much more rational about the decisions that they're making, probably less emotional than other places. And I think that works well when you're dealing with us, predominantly a standards development organization where science is everything for us.
Of course. No, I think you're doing a fantastic job here, Sanjay. You've got something coming up, I believe, at the end of the month, which I'm trying to get to, or you're working with them. Arno Kolk, I think, up in Estonia. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So every year we work with the Estonian Electronics Association and also Dieter Weiss's organization Informa to do an EMS executive event. And that's happening in Tallinn at the end of November, the beginning of December this year.
Excellent.
So right after we finish here, we are shifting gears and working up there.
Great. Well, I'm hoping to make it up there. So
great.
We'll see you there.
All right.
But I want to thank you for coming in today and giving us an update on what's happening with IPC.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting us.